Hello, everybody. Welcome into my latest live broadcast. It's Wednesday. It is the 17th of July, 2024. My name is Carey Holzman, and today we've got a mini PC review for you. First, a shout out to our friends over at Acronis. Have you backed up your computer recently at all? Let this serve as your reminder. No one cares about your data, just you. So I strongly advise you, if you care about it, make a backup of it. How you back it up is entirely up to you. Backing up is just making a duplicate copy of things that are important to you. If your computer were to get a virus, be stolen, be involved in a natural disaster, a fire, a flood, as I mentioned, a stolen, a theft, accidental deletion, hard drive failure. There's lots and lots of ways people lose data. So I use Acronis. I back up my machines. I also use Acronis for cloning when I want to upgrade a storage drive to a bigger, faster drive. I could also clone to a smaller, slower drive, but why would I do that? Acronis allows for all of that, and there's a 30% off coupon all year for all the viewers of Carey Holzman YouTube channel. Also, speaking of discounts for you guys, the remote software that I use is Instant House Call. When clients call me, they need help, I connect via Instant House Call. It's very, very tuned or equipped for technician work, remote technician work. Not that you can't use it for basic remote access, but there's a lot more to it than just that. Now, both Acronis and Instant House Call have free trials. Be sure and download them. They both have discount codes for our viewers, and they're supporting us here. So maybe consider supporting the back at the very least. Give them a shot. Use the free trial. You don't need any credit card information. If you like it, use the coupon code and save some money. If you don't like it, well, at least you tried it. Everybody's got different preferences. But one thing you can rest assured is that if I'm here promoting it or endorsing it, you know that you've got peace of mind that you're going to be protected. You're not going to get ripped off. There's no scheme or things are exactly the way I say they are. There's nothing hidden. And, I encourage you to verify that for yourself and to know that you're backed up 100% here, that, you will be satisfied with the product. So with that, let's talk about today's computer. This was sent to us from our friends over at Geekom. They asked us if we would review it. We said, yeah, bring it on. We'd love to review mini PCs and especially models that we haven't reviewed before, because it wouldn't make sense to review the same model again. And of course, manufacturers that we haven't reviewed much of. I think we've only done one other, Geekom, I think. So maybe two. But the point is, they have a lot of different mini PCs in their stable of computers. And the one we're going to review today is an entry-level budget mini PC. Now, this definition has changed over the years. A budget computer used to be $1,000, and then a budget computer became about $600. These days, I'd say around $500, $400. If you go to Best Buy and you look through those pre-builts looking for something, what's the cheapest? You're still a few $100 into it. These days, things have changed. Not everybody needs a mid-tier or high-end PC. In fact, I would suggest most people don't need that. And while I realize many of you watching my channel are hobbyists and enthusiasts who might think this is not enough for you, I'm sure you know people, whether it's your parents, your neighbors, your friends, coworkers, where this would be a very ideal solution for them. Not everybody sees the value in computers the way you and I do. Some people see them as a necessary evil and want to get the very least, smallest thing, cheapest thing to do what they need to do, which could be remote access, it could be email, it could be communicating with family or being on social media or watching YouTube videos. Well, guess what? This is going to do all that just fine, and it's Windows 11. So you don't have to worry about, the end of Windows 10 coming out in a year and a half. So let's take a look at it with that in mind before you turn your noses up and go, oh, it's a budget machine. I can assure you, there are more budget machines sold than mid-tier and high-end. Your general consumer doesn't want to spend that kind of money, may not have that kind of money, and wouldn't know what to do with it if they had it. Okay, so there's a reason why we have different tiers of machines. And let's not be disrespectful to those who share a different value of how they choose to spend their money and what entertainment they get. You know, they might buy season tickets to an NFL game. It's going to set them back a lot more than this computer. And I personally would say, no thanks, you can have your season tickets. All right, so different things for different folks. Now, we are going to have a higher end Geekom mini PC to review next week. This is not all they make, but this is a really nicely equipped entry-level machine. So I just want to get that out of the way because I know my audience. And I'm hoping that first-time viewers don't get put off by that. That in fact, this is a great machine for people who are basic computer users, who aren't demanding, and it can save you a lot of money, and it appears to be made very well. So let's take a look here through the chat. Say hello to folks. There's our friend Buster. Peter Laycock joins us from Scotland, Bonnie, Scotland, with a 10-pound contribution. Peter says, good evening, Carey and Marlena, and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland. The temperature in Edinburgh, 26 degrees Fahrenheit, which is -3 degrees Celsius. Luke Greenia says hello from Vermont. Hope everyone's staying warm and cozy. Did I introduce the video as being July? Did I say July and not January? Holy cow, I must be getting old. Do I need to do that again? Did I say July? Today is the 17th of January, 2024. July is 6 months away, or 6 months behind us, depending on which way you're facing. Yikes. These videos are live and unscripted. There you go. What can you do? I think I'm just stuck in summertime. Like, keep this cool weather, please. I mean, for you guys on the East Coast, you might be done with it. But for me, I'm enjoying it while it's here. Please, let's not make July happen any faster than it needs to. Lord Folk wants to know in the chat, if you ever go to start a PC and it doesn't turn on, and then after trying everything, you find out the power cord was bad. I haven't found a power cord that was bad, but I have seen other cords like keyboards and mice where PET has chewed through them. And I've also seen where the plugs haven't been plugged in all the way. They look like they're plugged in all the way until you grab them and push on them, or, you know, and then they sink in another ½ inch and you're like, oh, well, that'll probably do it. Or they're hanging out of the plug, you know, 3/4 out of the plug. But as for a bad power cable, no, I've not seen a bad power cable. They're pretty darn thick. I don't know how one of those would go bad. Sometimes people run cables underneath a chair with wheels and they roll over that cable day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. It actually wears a hole through the cable, and then the inside of the cable will short out against itself. I've seen that. But thank you for becoming a supporter, Lord Folk. We appreciate your support of the channel and your question. Is it July? Garfield Rupe with who's been a member now for 13 months. He says, so happy to be a member of this channel. I love watching, even though me building a system is questionable. Thanks, though. Well, y'all got to start somewhere. It's all good. And you do know that if you run into any issues, you can always come here for help. PSC Computers Missouri says, backups are vital for data to be sure. Customer data is our #1 concern. Looking forward to the show. Right on. Most repair shops don't give a rat's behind about your data. They'll usually have a sign on the wall that when you drop your computer off for repair, they'll say not responsible for any data loss. Make sure you back up your computer before you bring it in for service. That's pretty much boilerplate, because how could they be responsible for data loss? There's no way for them to replace the pictures that you took, that they erased. There's no value on those. The court can't really assign any value to the photos. Doesn't matter if you spent $10,000 on a vacation and those are your only pictures. That is on you Absolutely on you to make duplicates of those to make sure that if anything happens, you've got another source, another location for those files. So yeah, pretty much repair shops are going to say, I mean, we're not going to intentionally erase your data, but if it happens, we're not responsible. And $10 from PSC Computers Missouri in Super Chat. Thank you for that. Planet Cryos with a $2 Super Chat says, good evening, Carey, and all 23 degrees here. Oh, that's not bad. You're fine. Van Laird said it's a negative 3 degrees Celsius here in Dundee, Scotland. Bill Wicken says the Asus computer that he received from our good friend Buster is running like a wolf. Running like a wolf? He says it does everything I need to do, as well as with Windows and Linux installed, thanks to you and Buster. Right on, Bill. Good to see you, my friend. I'm glad to hear that that computer's working well for you. I love getting updates like that. $5 super chat from our friend Planet Cryos. So there's another good deal on Amazon, the MSI Meg Z690 Unified Gaming at $250. I think you can buy that directly from MSI at that price as well. I thought the Ace was higher end, but if the Unify is more expensive in the same chipset, it must be a tier above that. I wonder how many more tiers they go. I know there's a Godlike. Isn't that like the maximum? So I guess MSI must be clearing these out. Must be old inventory is all I can guess. Martin says he's seen a bad power cable used for connecting a monitor. Found the fault by wiggling the cable. Yeah, those are usually thinner cables though, right? So with a PC power cable, that's a pretty thick cable. Much more difficult to damage. But be that as it may, you know, maybe he's talking about a laptop computer or, I don't know, a mini PC, because these use the smaller power cables. In fact, let me show you now. This is the Mini Air12. This is a 12th gen N100. Paul O'Brien joins us from Ireland, contributes €2. Thank you, Paul. Let's take a look over at the website to see what we're looking at today. And bear with me here as I want to bring up GeekCom's site first and foremost. Now, I don't know what GeekCom has in relation to the UK, but it does look like their website here, or at least the one they've provided to us to share with you, is based in the UK. So if you're watching from the UK, and I'm always talking about, you know, Amazon in America this and deals in America that, you guys in the UK say, what about us? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't live in the UK. Well, guess what? Lots of love to the UK today from our friends at GeekCom, because they've given us two links for UK. First of all, we've got the main site. This is the PC we're going to look at today, the Mini Air12, and the specs on it, and the price at £249. And then you can see if you pay with PayPal, you can get £50 off if you're spending over £699. However, they also provided a link to Amazon UK. Here we are, Amazon UK, and $249 right here. But here's the deal. We've got coupon codes. Yes, we have coupon codes that you can use at Amazon UK, GeekCom UK, or Amazon US. You'll need to read the video notes. The coupon codes are boldly displayed in the video notes. Should be clear as a bell. All right, what are we looking at? Well, on this model right here, this Mini Air12, it's 16 gigs of DDR5. All right, so we're not exactly talking about a snail. It's an Intel 12th gen Alder Lake N100, which is an entry-level processor with 512 gigs NVMe storage Gen 3x4. Windows 11 Pro is installed. It supports 4K video out, Wi-Fi 6, and Bluetooth 5.2, and has gigabit Ethernet. That's a lot of bang for your buck, especially when you add in the discount code. This last tab I have up here is here in the US. And you'll see here in the US, it's priced at nobody knows because it appears to be out of stock. So we'll have to watch this page for when it gets restocked. Okay, so that's how popular these are. They're already sold out here. All right, now let me go back to camera one. Now that we kind of have an idea of what to expect. And let's see if the pictures match the reality. Now, I have already opened this and updated it so we don't have to sit around here waiting for all those Windows updates. And I went ahead and did the Uncle Carey's Windows 10 optimizer and ran Crystal Disk Mark. So all that stuff we typically have to wait for on these live videos is already done. So we can get to it quickly and hopefully not put you to sleep. Unless you want to go to sleep, then I'll sing you a little lullaby. Okay, look, it's a little tiny thing. Look at it, isn't that cute? And does this just come off? No. I see it's got little notches in it. No, I wouldn't expect it to. Let me bring it up to the camera. Let me show you what I can see close up. Okay, teeny tiny. Feels like this area here is metal, and then it feels like the top and bottom are plastic. Oh, the bottom is metal. Feels like, well, the top is plastic. Maybe this is plastic. I don't know. It's kind of heavy though, for as thin as it is. All right, here's the front. We've got, let's see. We've got a 10 gig per second USB Type-C, 10 gig per second USB 3.0, headphone, microphone, headset jack, power button, and that looks like a BIOS reset if I had to guess. We've got a SD card reader. That's pretty nice to have. And flip around the other side, and we have a Kensington lock. So if you're afraid of somebody walking away with this, you can buy the optional Kensington lock from Kensington. And then back here on the back, we've got a miniature display port out next to our barrel power connector, next to our Ethernet, 2 more USB 3s. Those are both 10 gig per second. Another USB Type-C that's also 10 gig per second. Don't know if that supports display out. I think it does. In fact, if that supports display out, and if the front one supports display out, then that would mean you could hook 3 monitors up to this at the same time. We're going to use the HDMI and then a USB Type-C to DisplayPort output on these Type 3s. I think that's doable. There's your top. There's your bottom. The screws are not covered up, so super easy to get into it if you want to. You don't have to remove any rubber feet. So I appreciate that, GeekCom. Thank you. That's a lot of computer for $250. All right. Actually, I think in American dollars, I think it's less than that. But still, there's also the coupon. I'm not including that. So that's manufacturer's suggested retail. Okay, inside, we've got an HDMI cable. I've got the power brick. Now, normally the computer and the power brick are wrapped in plastic bags. I've thrown those out. I figure you guys don't need to see me recreate that, do you? Please tell me no. We've got some screws here that are for a VESA mount here. So if you wanted to mount this behind your monitor or hang it on a wall or the side of a desk, that's what that is for. Oh, this is just, whoops, I caught it. It's called bodacious cat-like reflexes, or BCLRs. All right, and then that little round piece, I think, is the piece that was cut out from here. I'm like, what is this for? Oh, yeah, that's where that went. I don't think you're supposed to get that. All right, and then finally, you've got some documentation here. In multiple languages, so not a whole lot in the way of documentation. just kind of an explanation of how it opens up, how you could attach the VESA mount if you want to use it. And let's just clear this out of the way, hook it up. And before you prejudge it, I want you to see the responsiveness of this little computer, because I think it's going to be faster than you think it's going to be. I mean, let's face it, it's still an entry-level machine, but it's not at the bottom barrel of entry-level. It's not like there's just one speed is entry-level and then one speed is mid. There's a range of entry-level, there's a range of mid, and there's a range of high-end. This is towards the upper end of the range of budget. And I would say that's true also in price. It's probably a little bit more, maybe $50 more, sometimes $100 more than an older, slower model that's not as well equipped. So I'm going to go ahead and put power in here. I'll plug my internet in. I'll grab my HDMI cable. And we'll plug that in right there. And I'll turn it this way for you, just in case there's any lights or anything that power up here. And then I need a keyboard and a mouse, which I have right here. Move this keyboard and mouse off to the side, so hopefully I won't try and grab the wrong one, as I always do. So I probably still will. Do what I can. All right, finally, let me plug my dongle in up front here. I could plug it in the back. I don't know. I just plug it in because that's just the way I am. And let's go over to the HDMI input. Let's turn this on. Where's my button? Right there. Yep, power light comes on. And then I'll take camera 1 and put it in a corner so you can see me and the computer boot. You can see it's already started to boot up. And this wire tie will get out of the way. There. Now you can time this to see how long it starts and compare it with how long it takes your computer to start before you throw any shade about the specs. One of the things that really impressed me with this computer is just how responsive it is. Oh, did I not save the crystal disk mark results? Thought I did. I also thought it was July, apparently. I'm getting old. All right, let's run crystal disk mark now. What do you think the crystal disk mark results are going to say? Budget machine, right? You probably have set low expectations. The benefit of setting low expectations is that you'll be easily impressed. So I was quite surprised when I ran the test on this, and I don't know why I didn't save the results. It came back much better than I was expecting. Now, we've seen some of these machines that the enclosed SSD is just, really, really cheap. Not so much here. We're really at the top tier of Gen 3 at 3,300 megabytes per second on that read. Come on. And that's fantastic. That's better than some mid-tier PCs where they throw in a cheap SSD. This has a better SSD than those. Okay, so something to keep in mind. Also, SSD prices are going up. There's a shortage in NAND memory, and I don't know if this is intentional in order to drive prices up. However, if you have not bought an SSD and you were thinking about doing it, you better do it now, because if you wait, prices are going to go way up. That's my prediction. My prediction could be wrong, but I do believe that in order for them to ramp up chip manufacturing, it's going to take some time and then get those chips back into the channel. So, well, if that's even happening, which I'm not even sure it is, what we've got is what's in the channel. So once that runs out, and as it gets depleted, prices go up and up and up until eventually they flood the market with some more chips. So that's where we're at currently right now in January 2024. And the prediction that I have is we could see prices double on whatever you're paying for solid state drives right now. On the other hand, Seagate is just readied their 30 terabyte, yeah, I said it, 30 terabyte mechanical drive. So prior to that, about 22 terabytes, 24 terabytes, depending on who it is, but the largest consumer-sized mechanical drive. Well, say hello to 30 terabytes. It should be coming out any day, I believe, from Seagate. I think they're getting ready to introduce that. And yeah, put 4 of those in a NAS. Hello. You know, in a RAID 5, that'd give you 90 terabytes, and a RAID 0, 120 terabytes. That ought to be enough to hold your stuff, you think? So, I mean, I wouldn't be one of the first ones to buy them because, you know, they could have issues. Any new product that comes to market, maybe wait 6 months. Also, the price will be really expensive when it's new. Everybody wants it, right? Not everybody, but certain people who want that will pay the price to be the first to have it. Let them be the first. After about 6 months, prices should settle, inventory should settle, and there should be enough information and data out there online with whether or not people are satisfied or not. Drive. Look at the write speeds on the SSD. We're crying out loud. We're almost at 3,000 megabytes per second. That is a good SSD and far better, 3 times better than what I thought this was going to have. So maybe think twice before you turn up your nose. This is not what you might think it is. This isn't your grandma's computer. Let me tell you something. If this was your grandma's computer, she'd probably be super happy with it. Not to stereotype grandmas, but I'm saying she'd probably really think that was the bee's knees. Now, also, not just for grandmas, parents, friends, people that just aren't really into computers aside from your basic stuff I talked about earlier, social media, email, maybe paying bills, booking some plane tickets to go somewhere, you know, stuff like that, watching YouTube videos. Why would they need anything more than that? And I think they would agree with you. All right, let's take a look here. My video is blurry on this tablet, and that happens when the resolution is too low. So what I have to do is click on the video here, go to the gear icon, and change the quality of the video. It's on auto at 144p. Really? Is this 1974? I'll go to advanced and select 1080p. And the video is crystal clear. So if you're watching this, and it can happen even while you're watching the video, YouTube's, both their app and their interface for the web can be a little flaky, to put it mildly. It's always flaky. So any sort of glitch in your internet or anything, and it automatically drops your resolution down, thinking that that's what your bandwidth is going to be from this point forward. It doesn't necessarily bring it up. It only brings it down. You have to bring it back up. Thank you, YouTube. So anyway, if this video is not 100% crystal clear sharp, that's on you. Adjust your resolution. Okay, look at the numbers. Seriously, run Crystal Disk Mark on your computer. I'm sure many of you have some faster SSDs, but I also pretty sure many of you have SSDs that are equal to or less than that. So put that in your hat. All right, let me go full screen over here so I can take a screenshot of this and save that, because I thought I already did it. Function Alt print screen. What did I do? Did I close something? Function Alt print screen. Then over to Microsoft Paint. See, things are popping up. See how fast that came up? And then we'll scroll down over here. This little template, tiny template. Control V to paste. File, save as a JPEG. And we'll call this Crystal Disk Mark.jpg. And we'll save it to the desktop. There. Okay. Let's take a look at our specs. We're going to right click on the start menu. We're going to go to System. We want to verify what our processor is. Like, wait a minute, is that really an N100? Is he fooling us? Has that really got 16 and not 32 gigs of RAM? Yeah, that's really an N100. Look at that, 800 megahertz. It sounds sad, right? I think that's its idle speed. It does, I believe, crank up beyond. And then we've got our 16 gigs of RAM installed, and we're running Windows 11 Pro 22H2. It hasn't offered me 23H2 yet. Microsoft is sort of rationing this update out. I don't know why. But if we go to Windows Update and check it today, still 22H2, update for the driver from Intel. Yeah, I'm still not being offered 23H2, but it'll be offered to us. No worries. It's just not our turn yet. And then if we go to the device manager, let me just close this out. That'll continue downloading in the background. If I right click and go to device manager, we can see that we don't have any missing drivers, I hope. Yeah, all the drivers from the manufacturer, everything's installed correctly. We've got our security device right up here, which is required for Windows 11 compatibility. So we know they're not trying to pull a fast one. Although that's expected with an N100, you can tell from the CPU if you've got a Windows 11 compatible computer. There is a list of compatible CPUs. You can just Google for that if you're uncertain. But if you don't have the security devices in your device manager, then your computer is not Windows 11 compatible. You could force Windows 11 on it, but I think you'd be a fool to do it because you'd have worse security than if you just put Windows 10 on it. Because at least with Windows 10, you're meeting all the security requirements that are protected. If you're bypassing Windows security requirements, then you're leaving yourself vulnerable. Look, I mean, if you want to enter the battlefield naked without any armor, you go right ahead. You start without me, okay? The internet is a dangerous place. There's a lot of bad actors out there. I don't think it's any joke. So if you want to take it lightly, that's your choice. Now, you'll see I've got VLC installed on here and Carey. So I did, go through this and make sure that we worked. Got a little update here that wants my attention in the security department. I don't like using the OneDrive, so I dismissed that. I don't use Microsoft account, so I dismissed that. Browser control, I always turn that on. And then as far as device security, that's up to you if you want to turn this on or not. I would just dismiss it, but if you want the added security, then you want to turn this on. And it probably requires a reboot for that to take effect. Yeah, this change requires you to restart. And it probably is a good idea to turn that on. There's a reason why they recommend it. However, so far we don't have any threats that I'm aware of, at least not in mass, where that's protecting us. But there are going to be, likely there will be threats where I'll be changing that advice and saying turn this on, but we're not there yet. Okay, so with that, let me take a look in the chat while we wait for this to do what it's going to do. In fact, I'll just go back over here to camera 1, full screen, and we'll take a look here in the chat. Martin says 30 terabyte hard disks are for cloud servers, not for home PCs. Desktops and laptops don't come with spinning Rust anymore. Oh, well, don't tell that to your favorite gamer. Gamers, they need a lot of space, and it's not uncommon for gamers to still, require a mechanical drive. And these 30 terabyte drives, absolutely, you could stick them in a NAS. You could put it in your desktop. I mean, this is sort of a very, very myopic, tunnel vision response from you without consideration of other people's needs and desires. It is not technically true. It is not a server only. There are drives that are server only. This is not one of them. Now, with that being said, I can probably pull the article up here. Let's take a look. 30 terabyte Seagate. Seagate confirms 30 terabyte drives. Oh, wait a minute. This one says you may not be able to use it in your PC. Hold on, I might stand corrected here. Oh, okay. So the entry of the 30 terabyte drives is starting on the enterprise, but it is likely coming to the desktop. But we're going to it's a 3 terabyte per disk product, right? So depending on how many disks they can fit into the cage. So on these, I think they're larger, so they can fit more platters. But as they increase the capacity of the platters, it's likely not far behind entering home users. So at this point, I stand corrected on that one. 30 terabyte drives, I'm going to read this. 30 terabyte drives have been in the pipeline for a while. Seagate had an announcement 2 years ago and confirmed select customers had already started testing the drives. Toshiba, another hard drive vendor, confirmed it was working on drives with similar capacity. Seagate unveiled an Exos 24 terabyte drive, including a 28 terabyte and a 36 terabyte hard disk drive. A 50 terabyte HAMR-based product is also on Seagate's roadmap with a 2026 launch date. Now, Western Digital already launched a 26 terabyte drive, which is the Ultrastar DC HC670, but end users can't buy it as a host-managed SMR. It also confirmed 28 terabyte hard disk drives are already in the hands of enterprise data centers customers, albeit in the testing phase. So the good news is enterprise gets it first. As the technology is tested in that extreme environment and as the technology evolves where they can shrink things down, home users aren't going to be far behind. So I appreciate the correction. I was a little harsh in my response because I was under the impression that the 30 terabytes were for the consumers, but they're not yet. They're coming. Now, that being said, I feel better about the 22 terabyte drives I just bought because I was like, oh no, I just bought these. All right, so I stand corrected. There you go. Let's see what else. Matt wants to know what solid state drive would I recommend for that MSI Meg Z690? Well, it's only a Gen 4 motherboard. All right, you got to go 13th Gen Z790 if you want Gen 5. So any of the high performance Gen 4 drives, whether it's SK Hynix P41, Western Digital SN850X, Seagate Fire CUDA, the 530, I think is what it's called, or the Samsung 990. Those would all be excellent choices in my opinion. There's probably a few others out there, but those are the ones just off the top of my head. My YouTube studio is not updating properly. Oh, there it goes. All right, so Ben Laird said he's going to stick with NVMe for my home PCs. Hey, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. NVMe for the computer, mechanical drives for the NAS if you have large storage needs. For sure, for sure. Starshine said, I heard solid state drives won't last as long as hard drives because of the read and write limits and associated warranties. Where do you stand on that? I've already made a video, probably 3 videos on this topic. This is all theorized and it's all wrong. It doesn't take into all the equation and effect and also reality. So basically, whenever we introduce new technology, there's always a group of people that think it's terrible and they don't want to move forward with the rest of us. Now, back in the day, early on when I first started this YouTube channel in 2008, regular repairs involved replacing mechanical drives. I mean, that was a regular routine repair call I would get. Kept me in business pretty good. The stack of bad mechanical drives I built up, I used to unload them to my friend Steve Bass, who wanted the magnets out of them to use for geocaching. Now, with solid state drives having no moving parts, their estimated lifespan is about 72 years. What people don't seem to understand is that a mechanical drive certainly would not have a lifespan or a mean time between failure of 72 years. But what they do have is a mean time between failure of the number of hours it can be used. Well, if you think about the data that they're using to calculate how many hours this drive can be spinning on average before it fails, is that really any different than calculating how much data can be written? But here's the difference. Solid state drives don't fail when you can't write to them anymore. If you wear out a solid state drive, and by the way, solid state drives have been out over 11 years, 12 years in the consumer space. Show me one that's been written to too many times. People talk about it. People talk about Sasquatch. Never seen them. I'm in the repair business. Never seen it. I've owned, I don't know, how many solid state drives you think I've been through? 200, 300, 400? We've seen 2 bad ones, and none of them have ever hit the write limit. So when you hit the write limit on a solid state drive, listen, please. When you hit the write limit, if you ever live long enough to do that, it becomes read only. It doesn't fail. It lets you read from the drive, but you can no longer write to the drive. Now, a mechanical drive, when it fails, you're off to data recovery service, and depending on the failure, you may not be able to get the data back. On a solid state drive, depending on whether or not the drive is encrypted, getting the data back is essentially far more likely, because if a platter breaks or scratches on a mechanical drive, and that can happen if the head breaks off on the actuator, that can absolutely happen, and your data's just gone. Nobody can bring that back. But on a solid state drive, I mean, unless the thing catches fire or the chips spontaneously explode, the data's on the chips, and the chips can be pulled off if need be and put onto another board and pull the data out. It's far more recoverable. So you try telling people that who are old school, and they can't process. Their brain has no concept for this technology. So they default to their ignorance by sticking with what they know. And what they know are hard drives, right? Because hard drives have been around a long time. What they don't know are solid state drives. So anybody who makes these claims about solid state drives, ask them to show you evidence. Instead of believing what you're reading online, question it. Be skeptical. Ask them to show you an example of what they're talking about. I guarantee you, the only example you are likely going to find is some website testing service or, a publication that took an SSD and just wrote data to it until it failed to write an article. So that does not represent reality. Yes, and again, I use the word fail. It doesn't fail, it just becomes read-only. There are a couple of websites that have done that for testing purposes, but I've never met a person, a real-life person in real life, who's ever experienced that. Have you? Have you ever experienced it? Why are we fearing things that we've never seen or heard of in real life? That's like believing in chupacabra. So that's my thoughts on that. But I've made a number of videos on this nonsense that's online, and it's unprovable. It's just theory. Like, in theory, I could be walking outside and one of the hundreds or thousands of satellites floating around us could fall through the earth and hit me, or a meteor. In theory, yes. Has that happened to you or anybody you know? Should we be walking around outside waiting for it? Should we have any thought in our mind about it? It's so preposterous and unlikely as to be ridiculous and to create unneeded anxiety. Do we not have enough anxiety in our lives that we have to add nonsense and hearsay and, it's gossip? Come on, rise above it. Where are all of these bad SSDs? Where are they? And why are these people writing the articles, especially if it's from a publication that's respected, not being edited by a technical editor? Because there have been some false information published by, even New York Times, where they got the data wrong. So, I'm in the field. I've been in this field over 30 years. There's no incentive for me to lie to you. I don't own stock in a solid state drive company. But when have you ever seen me replace a bad solid state drive? When in the history of this channel have you ever seen me experience a drive that did its writes only? We even had a drive sitting on a shelf for 5 years, hadn't been touched. Oh, the data won't be on that drive anymore. That's a load of hooey. I plugged the drive in live. I suggested people make a bet with me. The data was all still there. Of course, where's it going to go? Oh, well, the magnetism or the data gets weak and it vanishes. Well, that's a really interesting fantasy land you live in. That's not how it works, or at least not in a 5-year time span. Maybe in 50 or 100 years, but not in 5. No, not unless the environment you got it in is like heavily radioactive, or I don't know. Not even sure that would have much impact, to be honest. They're pretty bulletproof. All right. So I appreciate the question, though. It drives me crazy when it's so simple. The answer is already in front of you. Where are these bad solid state drives? Where is Carey's videos replacing solid state drives? Remember all the videos I did replacing hard drives? When's the last time you've seen one of those? Saying. Take a look here. Look through if you have any other questions for me. Do you defrag a solid state drive? There's no point in defragging a solid state drive. It's pointless. All it does is create excessive wear on the drive. No, you do not. Again, this is what happens when you teach somebody 20 years ago, and then they take that knowledge and they think it still applies today. We don't do that anymore. We also don't use regular gasoline in our cars. It's unleaded now. We also don't crank our cars to start them. We don't really have to worry about the maintenance procedures on buggies for horses. Most of us don't. So I think if you want to be in this, be up to date with the technology, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not verifying your knowledge. Because what you knew was true 20 years ago. And if you're using computers that are 20 years old, then your knowledge still applies. But if you want to use modern technology, you know as well as I do how fast this stuff evolves. And when it evolves, it doesn't just make the technology faster. A lot of maintenance and a lot of things that we used to do, we no longer have to, because the technology has evolved to a point or changed to a point where it's no longer necessary. If anything, defragmenting an SSD is going to kill the drive sooner. It will have no benefit. Zero benefit. Okay. Let's take a look. You do something called trim on an SSD, but Windows does that automatically for you. Let's take a look here. Chat. What else you got on your mind? Is there no 2.5 version of a 30 terabyte? There is. There's a, you can buy, it's for enterprise servers, but you can buy a SAS 2.5-inch 30 terabyte SSD. They are about $100 a terabyte. So you're looking at around $3,300, I want to say. None of you have Google? I'm just kind of curious with a question like that. If you Google 32 terabyte SSD, which would be a 2.5-inch drive, you'll see that they're quite a bit of money. I see one here from Samsung for $5,250, and it's a 2.5-inch drive, but not for your desktop. Oh, it's held cheaper over here at allhdd.com. They have it for $4,850. That's a 30.7 terabyte, 2.5-inch drive, but not with a SATA interface. It's going to have probably an SAS, interface. Let me click on it and see. PCIe 4, so it's basically, it's an NVMe with a different plug. Is that U2 or is it SAS? Anyway, they exist, but probably not something you're going to buy or something you can use in a home computer. So there you go. Let's see what else we got. To my, here I am. All right. Dolman says some people are feeling more comfortable asking questions to real people than Google. I would still Google first and then ask a real person and see if you get the same answer. Because the problem when you ask people is people won't be as consistent as Google will be. That's all I can tell you. You will meet some people who answer questions along a topic they're familiar with very accurately. A lot of people imply their own values into how they answer your question and how they interpret your question to what they want to hear. There's a selfishness involved when people typically answer questions, whereas with technology, it's just very cold and literal. It gives you a response. So for me personally, I would go to Google before I would go to a random person. Now, if there's an expert in the industry that you trust, a different story, but I'd still Google and compare, because even experts have opinions and biases. And well, that can be the same with Google. It's less likely. Most information like Wikipedia is generally going to be fair and balanced and accurate without implying anything other than literally what you asked. So sometimes it's what you ask or how you ask it that's going to determine what kind of answer you're going to get. And that's very true of people. People can be very difficult to communicate with when you aren't heard properly. Could you pick that up for me? Well, I could. Would you pick it up for me? You know, it's stuff like that, games people play. Generally speaking, the computer doesn't play those games. It can be really annoying with some people. So making sure that you're heard and you're understood is really on you when you're talking to the computer, versus it's kind of a two-way street when you're talking with another person. If you're talking and they're not listening or they're hearing what they want to hear, what's the point of having a discussion with that person? That's not an issue with Google, for example. So just the way I see it. I find too many unreliable people. Google's far more reliable for me. But if they're an industry leader, you know, if I'm going to ask Elon Musk something or Jeff Bezos something that has to do with their business or, you know, anything they're very knowledgeable in, I'll take that over Google any day. I'll take it with the opinionated biases because of who they are and what they've accomplished. But when you're asking people online, you don't know who you're talking to. Is it a 12-year-old? Is it somebody that's retired out of a career in computers, and have they kept up their data and their knowledge and their education, or are they giving you outdated information that used to be true but isn't true anymore? How do you know? Nick Caffrey with a €5 super chat says, I'm watching on my new build for the first time, all thanks to Carey and Marlena, and of course, the wonderful chat community. Thank you, everyone. What'd you build, Nick? I know you told us before, but remind me. I've got the brain and the memory of a potato. I can't remember. I know it was something good. Devin wants to know, can you build a sleeper computer sometime on the show? So Devin, I don't know if you're new here, but we've been making this channel. We've been making videos on this channel since 2008, and we've certainly done that a number of times. I have no interest in revisiting and repeating what I've already done. But be sure and just kind of search through the over 1,500 videos we have here and look for some of the PC builds. And you'll see we've got a little bit of everything: mini ITX, servers, full size, mid size, RGB, no RGB, sleeper, case mod, all that. So enjoy. You've got a lot of content waiting to be watched. Thank you for the question. Ben Laird with a £2 contribution. Right on. Thank you, Ben. Marlena says, Carey's food pyramid is potato, chicken nuggets, and pizza. Where you left out pretzels and Doritos. I mean, Doritos are corn, they're not potato. So, you know. And Matthew Burden says, I approve. There you go. There you go. David Graham is liking Copilot on Windows 11. Yeah, I'm a little skeptical, but we'll see. DJ Matrix claims he's got an old OCZ SSD, and they had a really bad reputation for being unreliable, but that doesn't mean that they were all unreliable. I'm sure there are other OCZ solid state drives still working fine today, but you don't hear from those people. You only hear from the ones that suffered a failure, and you don't know if it failed because of a power spike or, you know, anything like that. And often they don't know either. They just blame the manufacturer because that's the way people are. Paul Garrett said, you guys are the best chat I've ever had. Nice. This is a great community here. Can't stress that enough. Kelly Stewart joins us. Hey, Kelly. Kelly says, good afternoon. We just got the power back on 22 minutes ago. They're suffering some storms there in Northern California. He just can't catch a break. I don't know how many times there's been fires and extreme weather there where he's lost power or actually had to, what do you call that? Basically, you know, leave the house because of the wildfires. And they clear everyone out. I want to say evict. That's not right. There's a word for it. My potatoes not fully baked. Kind of wish it was. All right, let's see as we scroll through. Starshine said, I was worried I saw a solid state drive that had a 200 terabyte write capacity limit. If I'm copying 2 terabytes each week, I would run out in 100 backups of family archive photos. 200 terabytes. How old is your solid state drive? If we look, we should, well, I guess I could probably just Google it here. But if you look at, say, how many times have I used that Samsung 970 EVO, right? So Samsung 970 EVO, TBW, the terabytes written limit on that is 1200, not 200, 1200. Now, your question, if you really take what you say seriously, because I'm not sure you're really hearing yourself. Because what you're saying and what you're suggesting is, if I'm copying 2 terabytes of backups each week, okay, no, first of all, you wouldn't be. There's no one that I'm aware of outside of a corporation that would be doing 2 terabytes every single week. I don't know if you understand exactly the amount of data you're speaking about here. Furthermore, most people don't own a solid state drive any bigger than 2 terabytes. So you couldn't write 2 terabytes to it when you already have Windows, et cetera, unless it's, let's say it's external. But that would mean that you take an empty drive and you fill it to max. Well, now you've filled it. So what are you doing? Next week, you're gonna write another 200 terabytes. That's gonna take 3, 4 days, 5 days for you to do that. By the time you're done writing 200 terabytes to an external SSD that's 2 terabytes in size, it will be a week, likely, and then you'll be right back to doing it again. What you are suggesting doesn't make any sense. So also a 200 TBW, that doesn't seem right to me unless the drive is really super old. That's an extremely low number. I can't recall seeing a drive with that low of a number. What's the make and model of the drive? There's Gregory Howard with a $5 super chat. He says, I got a sleeper, awesome machine. Hey, that one I sent you is not a sleeper. That is a showcase piece. That says, look at me, I'm a coffee maker. Ah, no, I'm a computer. Let's see. Steve wants to know if I think it's a good idea to put Linux on an old computer to get more life out of it. That's not up to me. Linux is free if your time is worth nothing. So that's up to you. You want to play around with that stuff. You got the time and you want to, keep that stuff out of the recycler. Good on you. Strongly encourage you to do it. You don't have time for that. It's nonsense. You need to get work done. Don't waste your time. So really, that's just for you to decide whatever fits your values and agenda. There's no wrong answer there. Let's see. Whoops. Starshine said, I'm adding newly scanned photos to the archives and then copying the archive to a backup. Yeah, but you're not doing 2 terabytes at a time, not to an SSD. I guarantee you're not. So when you're adding scanned photos, you're probably doing maybe a couple 100 gigs. I don't even think you'd be doing close to half a terabyte on any given session. And furthermore, you still have not told me what the make and model of the solid state drive is. So until I get that answer, I'm going to deflect any further questions because I'm not quite sure that you're giving me the information I need to provide you the answer. It seems like you're trying to get me to give you the answer you want. And whether you do that knowingly or intentionally, or you're deflecting me unknowingly, I don't appreciate it because I want to help you. But if you won't answer my question, that I can't help you clarify this question because it looks like you've misunderstood something. All right. And maybe I'm wrong, but until I have that information, nothing you're saying adds up. All right, so let's see. I was super excited. Lord Falk posts a link to a fake 32 terabyte external solid state drive for $80. Yeah, that is not real. That's a scam. That if you see a 32 terabyte, or if you see any drive that is 8 terabytes or larger and it's not $100 per terabyte on an SSD, or at least on an NVMe SSD or external SSD, it's likely a scam. And since the numbers always double, right? 2 terabytes to 4 to 8 to 16. When you see a 10 terabyte SSD available for sale on Amazon, there's no such thing. Once we have a 2 terabyte, the next one will be 4. The next one will be 8. The next one will be 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, 2048, 4096, 8192, 16384. Look, the point that I'm trying to make is everything doubles. So when you see 10 terabytes, no such thing. Not on a solid state drive. On a mechanical drive, yes. All right. What else can we clear up for you guys? I appreciate the questions. There's evacuating. That was the word I wanted, not evicting. Thank you, Alan Lindas. That was. Oh, and then a bunch of other folks, Andy Kane and Choppa there, helping me out with my verbiage. Thanks, guys. Paul Garrett says he's the oldest he's ever been. Yeah, I know the feeling. Nick Poverman said there are ads all over Facebook for those fake NVMe drives. Yeah, you got to be really cautious of anything being advertised on Twitter or Facebook. There's a lot of fake stuff. Hey, there's our friend Mark Gaines from Northern Ireland with a 10-pound contribution. Thank you for that. And let's see. Oh, I was about to say, I'm really excited about something that's coming out. Now, if you know anything about me, you know, one of the first computers I had was an Atari 400. And I wanted that for gaming because it would play the arcade games and it was just like the arcade. The Atari 2600 and other platforms, their versions of Pac-Man and Galaga and stuff, Centipede, didn't look good at all. They were nothing like the arcade. So I wanted an Atari 400 or 800 computer. I couldn't afford an Atari 800 and I could barely afford the Atari 400. Well, years later, this company, which has produced these other little mini replica machines, not the same one that does the mini arcades. This machine does like mini replicas of 8-bit computers. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Must have this. 120 bucks. Now, my understanding is the keyboard does not actually work, but back in the day, that was a flat membrane keyboard where you could really have to mash down on them to get them to, yeah, it was a real pain. I actually converted mine to an aftermarket regular keyboard, but this was the cheapest version of the Atari home computer. And now this is pretty darn cool because they're giving you 25 games built into it with the ability to add your own games. And it's got a rewind option and a save game option. The joystick is mostly the same, except obviously it's going to be USB and it's got 8 buttons on it, since I guess the buttons on the keyboard don't work. And you have the ability to bring your own 8-bit compatible games through a flash drive. So yes, please take my money. Take my money. It says coming in March of 2024. There's a wait list and it's available for pre-order at Amazon UK. So if we go over to, tell you what, let me go back to camera one for a minute. We go to Amazon.com, no, .co.uk, and the search, I'll type in Atari 400 Mini. Now, I don't know why it's not available for pre-order at Amazon.com, but it is available for pre-order at Amazon.co.uk. And I don't want to wait. I don't want to see if it's going to be available later. I want it like as soon as possible. So you'll see there's a pre-order button here, $99.99, 20 bucks delivery. And again, the release date at the end of March, pretty much April of this year. And that, oh yes, please. So I made a video a while back called How I Got Started, and I had an original Atari 800, 400, and I think an 800 too. And I basically was given them from somebody who didn't want them anymore. And my thought was, I don't have really any way to hook this to a TV, nor do I really have any desire. However, I'd like to make a video with them to sort of have as a keepsake and then pass them on to somebody else, which is exactly what I did. And that video, of course, is still up today. And I'm explaining how I got started in the business, what my first computer was, TRS-80 Model 1, then moved up to the Atari 400 so I could play the arcade games. And they were really, really good at the time. You look at them today and you'll be like, at the time. And I didn't have any money, so dumping quarters into the arcade didn't take long before I was just there watching other people play because I ran out of quarters. But at home, I could play all day. And the games were very, very close. Plus, they had other games that were never in the arcade that were really fun. Mule and Archon, Blue Max. I mean, there were just some great games. And then on top of that, when they did the arcade interpretations of like Donkey Kong or Centipede, they looked, Pac-Man looked and sounded just like the arcade. 2600, terrible, flickery and boxy, terrible sound. So anyway, that has a special place in my heart. But I didn't want a full-size machine to stick back here as decoration. It's too big and bulky. But a mini one? Yes. So yeah, I am getting that. That's got my name all over it. I told you I'm the OG. I'm the original gamer. All right. See what else we have going on here. Yeah, they did a mini, I think they did a mini Commodore 64 too. Paul Garrett says he has an Atari 400. It might be worth something one day. I don't know. I mean, you will see them for sale on eBay and stuff. And they kind of sell for what they sold for when they were new, like about $400. But $400 in 1980s money is very different from $400 today. Doman said he had the 800 XL. Yeah, yeah. I had an 800 XL. I had a 1200 XL. Was it? No, 1200 XE. No, it was a 130 XE. There was a 1200 though. I had it. XL. Nick Caffrey said he built with a Steel Legend Z790 with a 13700K, 2 terabyte Crucial T700, 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM. And what are you using for a cooler on that bad boy? Sounds like a very nice system. Doman says the 1200 XL was pretty rare. Well, I had one. It was hard to determine what was rare. Everything was rare when you're broke in the 80s. Let me Google and take a look at the picture of a 1200 XL just to make sure my brain's not playing tricks on me. 1200 XL Atari. Oh, yeah, I had that. I definitely had the 1200 XL. It was very similar, as I recall, to the 800 XL, but the 800 was not as long. Take a look at it. Atari 800 XL. Yeah, I remember it right. And then the 130 XE was the last Atari that was Atari 400 compatible. It was very modern looking, very different looking for Atari. And then after that, it became the IBM PC, right? The home computer back in the day. Yeah. So I ended up, I was giving my old computers to a friend who was even more broke than I was. And then he would spill beer on them or something. Ruin them. Here's another one. It was very irresponsible. So he ended up owning more computers than I did. Same with cars. He never lasted very long. He never took care of anything. But, fun guy to be around. It's always interesting. All right, so if we shut down, what are we doing over here? Oh, it's already restarted. Let's do a restart because it was updating. Basically, you flip this over, you take the 4 screws out, you open it up. There's your access to your storage. There's the access to your RAM. It's very easy to get to. There's no rubber feet to remove beforehand. This is not the kind of machine that I would recommend that you upgrade anyway. Honestly, if you want to do that, start off with something a little meatier. This is really, not that you can't, you certainly can, but I'm suggesting you don't. What I would say is, if you're looking for a good computer to do everything but gaming, and you want to spend around $200 or less, you're looking at this guy right here. If you want to say, well, I want to have something faster, but this is all I can afford for now, don't plan on upgrading this. Instead, save your money to get something higher up on the processor list, because no matter what you do to this, it's still an N100. And to me, pretty much the way they have it spec'd out is your balance. So if you went with 8 gigs of RAM or less, your N100 isn't really being fully utilized. If you go to more than 16 gigs of RAM, your N100 probably isn't going to be any faster or better. If you go to faster storage, it's really not going to get much faster than what you already have, maybe more capacity. But even then, you're still at an N100. So that, to me, the way this is configured is the perfect balance of RAM, storage, and processor for what it is. And if that's not good enough for you, then I would recommend that you go to at least an i5 or a Ryzen 5, start there, and then feel free to upgrade and configure it as you wish and grow with it if that's what you want to do. But I know a lot of consumers that would just take this as is and it'll stay that way until the day it dies. And those are the people that will likely be the most satisfied with this purchase, not the people that want to get in there and try and turn it into something it was never meant to be. You can if you want to. I'm simply advising you not to. I think it's throwing away money. Exactly as it is about the best value for all the components, for the 16 gigs of RAM, the solid state drive, the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth. They're already, it's Wi-Fi 6. Granted, it's not 6E and it's not 7, but 7's not really available yet anyway. Even a year after I bought a Wi-Fi 7 router, we're still waiting. We are seeing it trickle a little bit in, but again, at the end of the day, you're still going to be held up by that processor if that's your intention, is to go that way. But if your intention is, look, I just want an inexpensive computer that will be reliable and responsive and have Windows 11 compatibility, here you go. I don't think there's a better option out there, in my opinion. The GeekCom is very well built, solid. And if you must upgrade, well, I'm not going to stop you. It will let you do it. It's your money. Let me grab another cold Gatorade, and then we'll see if you guys have any other questions here, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Yeah, we had some good comments in the chat today. I appreciate that. Either these are getting tighter or I'm getting weaker. Maybe a little of both. Come here, Sonny. My Gatorade for your grandpa. Yeah, if you wanted a home theater PC, you wanted this next to your television and you could stream your shows, your Netflix, YouTube, whatever, turn an old TV into a smart TV for less than the price of a new TV. Bada boom, bada bing. So some people hear opportunity knock and they complain about the noise. Just saying. Andy says, I'm just getting old. Who said that? Ben Laird said, it makes you wonder where we're going to be with our computers in another 20 years. Well, I mean, look how far we've come. Look how much power is in this handheld computer that has a phone app on it. It's hilarious to me that we call this a phone. That would be like calling this computer my solitaire box. Oh man. All right. Let me see if I've missed any messages here. Hey, Bull142 sends an Amazon gift card for $25. Thank you, Bull142. And yeah, I think that catches me up there. And then we'll just look here over here again for the chat and see if we have any other questions, or if you're conflicted because you're hearing one thing from one person and one thing from somebody else about technology, I'll do my best to set you straight. I'll do my best. Paul Garrett says, thanks for the stream, Carey. Hey, right on. Thank you, Paul. Thanks to Geekom for sending us this machine to review. I like it. One of the issues I've seen on these budget machines, these entry-level computers, is they can often feel cheap. They kind of plastic, and you kind of squeeze them. They like creak, and I don't know. Sometimes they're loud. I don't even hear the fan on this at all. Like, I can't even tell that's on, except I see the lights blinking back. It's silent. So, I don't know if we really pushed it hard, how loud it could get, but it doesn't seem like it would get that loud. It certainly hasn't displayed any loudness. Plus, that SD card reader could be very handy if you're still shooting photography, right, on a camera that has an SD card. Pop it in there and transfer your photos over. It's pretty handy. A lot of people will transfer photos with a USB cable. Too slow. Put the SD card in. Much, much faster. Andy Kane with a €5 contribution says, I am glad to contribute yet again. Every little bit helps. This is true. This is true. We ordered that MSI Meg Ace computer, and actually I ordered 2 of them. And I don't really need another computer, but I really want to build on that board because that is a heck of a motherboard. And that means buying another CPU, RAM, storage, case, power supply. Thankfully, our copies of Windows are cheap. I go to Windows, to buy Windows, I go to VIP CDK deals. And I pay the same price you guys pay. I use the coupon code, Carey, to get 30% off. And what I'll do, if it's Windows 11 Pro, is I buy a Windows 10 Pro key because it's cheaper. And then when I install Windows 11 and it asks me for the product key, I put in the Windows 10 Pro key and it says, thank you very much, you're activated. Now, VIP CDK Deals does sell Windows 11 Pro keys. They cost more. Don't let me stop you if you want to buy one. And they also sell discounted Microsoft Office keys as well. And it's all fully legit. It's all fully legal. It's guaranteed to work. They've been in business a decade and a half, closing in on 2 decades. So these people that are so convinced something's illegal, Microsoft is well aware of their existence, and you can contact Microsoft and ask them yourself. So there you go. We're trying to keep that deal as long as possible with VIP CDK deals. I don't want you guys buying product keys and then hoarding them. And then if you have any issues with them later, months after you bought them, kind of looks like you're a scammer when you're calling for support saying it doesn't work. And most of the time when you buy something, you have a 30-day return window. So if you're not going to use your product key within 30 days, I implore you not to buy it. Wait until you need it. That way, in the rare circumstance that you might have an issue, because look, people make mistakes. The closer it is to when you purchased it that you're asking for help, totally makes sense, right? But if you wait months, I'm not even sure they'd be obligated to help you. If you try to return something to Best Buy more than 30 days after you bought it, regardless of what your excuse is, I just didn't have time to unbox it. Then I unboxed this TV and realized it's cracked. I want to exchange. No, you had 30 days to do that. Now you deal with the manufacturer, right? So I don't like that ugliness. I don't like the skepticism that comes on behalf of the sellers. And I don't like the skepticism that comes on the behalf of the buyer. So I'm the middleman. I'm the guy saying, okay, all these people I'm endorsing, they're honest. I don't know if you are. And if you follow these simple guidelines, you should have an excellent experience. And if you don't, you reach out to me personally and I'll make it right. Because I 100% endorse VIP CDK deals, Instant House Call, Acronis, RoboForm. I use this stuff every single day and I've been using it for years. They are excellent companies. They're not some fly-by-night. They don't overcharge for their products. And they're giving you guys, specifically you guys, a discount code that other people don't get. So I hope you take advantage of it. And they all have trials of everything they sell. So you don't have to worry about getting ripped off or deceived. Download it and try it. Try RoboForm. Try Instant House Call. Try Acronis. Even Windows and Office have trials before you have to activate them. Gooden says the Amazon link shows no payment. Yeah, it looks like these are sold out at Amazon right now, in Amazon.com. So you might want to just check back maybe a week or so, I would guess. Apparently the secret is out. People know what a good value this is. That's the only reason I can think that there's none in stock. If I'm made aware of when they're in stock, I'll remind you guys, but they are in stock in the UK. And you can order directly from Geekom, but that's also the link that they've given us is in the UK. So just bear that in mind. Paul O'Brien with €5. Thank you, Paul. Hey, there's our friend Mats Olaf in the chat. Kelly Stewart wants to know if I swapped out that small HDMI cable that was acting up yesterday. I did not. And you know what? It seems like it's fine. Let me check it again. I'm glad you reminded me about that because I completely forgot. What a shock. Let's go back over to the HDMI input here. Let me go full screen so I can get the full effect of my seizure. Let's wiggle the cable. Yeah, I'm wiggling this cable all around. It's solid. So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe the connector's loose, or I don't know. Seems fine. The issue though, I can look at the cable and I can see it starting to separate the cable from the connector. I'm starting to see the wires inside. Certainly would not hurt. It's not like I don't have extras. It probably wouldn't hurt for me to replace it, and I probably should. So I appreciate that reminder. Let's see. We still have a few minutes here. So let me shut this down. Let's go over here. Wait, why is this still an exclamation? Good night. Oh, it's the scan. Whoops, we'll do a quick scan. Hey, why not? We'll verify this thing doesn't have any viruses on it. Never hurts to check. I'm sure it'll be clean. And then since we have time, I can take out the overhead camera and I can take the back off of it here real quick, show you what that looks like. So while that's processing, I'll start getting this overhead camera set up. Let's see here, that way, that way. Go. And turn this on up here. Straighten it. And over to camera one in a corner so we can keep on this mini at the same time. And I'm sure this will come up clean. We'll let it finish. I'll shut it down. We'll unplug it, flip it over, see if it's a boy or a girl. Planet Cryos with $5 says, are you going to get the S24? I'm thinking about it. By the way, the MSI Mag Unify is one step down from the Ace with no RGB. Output video, but still has 5 M.2s. So why is it more money if it's one? That's weird. I mean, not unless the Amazon sale thing from Beach Audio is a mistake, but we're all going to find out here soon enough. And if that's the case, we'll get our money back. Not a big deal. Nick Poverman mentions these computers would be great for a senior center that needs computers. So there's people that could just go online and check email. This is true. Most senior centers do have a computer room. Now, I don't know how that changed after COVID, but for some time that stuff was shut down for many senior centers, but it's probably back up now. Let me go full screen on this computer so I can see. Wait, where'd it go? Okay, here we go. That's 0 threats found. Perfect. Close. Shut down here. Perfect. And then we're going to go over to the close-up camera. Right. And we definitely want power removed before we do this. Probably want to unplug everything, but once again, I have set this up where I have to lean all the way across the desk instead of bringing this closer to me. Moving the arm closer to me. Good space. All right, screwdriver. Look how easy this is. Again, I would discourage you from this, but you're going to do what you're going to do, and I'm at least going to show you. Oh, you know what? I bet you I can use my electric on these. These look like pretty nice screws here that aren't, they're not that delicate, tiny little screws that we see on some minis. And just grab the feet, kind of pull up on it here, both sides. I'm glad I unplugged it because I keep hitting the power cable with my thumb when I'm trying to grab this. Okay, now there might be a cable attached to this. I can't. Nope, no cable. So no way to add a 2.5-inch drive on this. And you do only have one memory socket. The N100 is not a dual channel processor. So don't expect to buy an N100 with dual channel memory. We've got, oh, well, that's why it's so good. It's a Lexar NVMe, and it's got thermal tape on it. And it's an NM620. And then I assume the Wi-Fi card is under it, but it is soldered on. You cannot change the Wi-Fi. I thought you could, even though I suggested you didn't. But you can change the RAM. I guess you could put 32 gigs. I think they're going to tell you the N100 only supports 16. I'm not sure on that. And then as far as your storage goes, it's pretty fast. So I would just leave everything as is. I really can't see a way to make this any better, because the N100 processor is really where your bottleneck is. So yeah, what's this RAM? Let's take this out and take a look at who makes it and what speed it is. Oh, it's ADATA RAM. So it looks like GeekCom computers use name brand parts. That's a nice thing to see. And it would certainly explain if they're, you know, $10 or $20 more than other manufacturers you've never heard of, that you're getting quality RAM and quality storage. And it's definitely worth that minor price difference. Plus, my understanding is they have excellent support if you need, whereas some of these companies, good luck, you know? They have an indication of which way to put this back on with an arrow pointing to the front on both the back. I mean, I'm not sure how the bottom of that's going to help you. This little piece right here, when you hook a Kensington lock, it hooks to this part so they can't steal the computer. Front is this way. And then let's make sure I didn't break it just now. So we'll plug power back in. Turn it back on. And go back to our HDMI input. Hey, I didn't break it. Look at that. It almost looked like I knew what I was doing. Fooled you. All right, guys. I think that's about it for me. Is there, again, one last opportunity? Comments, questions, speak now. Otherwise, we will wrap it up for the day. We have a mid-tier Geekom computer coming up next week to review. So this is not the only thing they make. So if this is not for you, and you don't know anybody that in your life that you run into that would benefit from it, so you have no interest, never fret. We have the mini IT12, which is a mid-tier version of this. Well, not of this, that's not fair. It's a mini PC that uses a higher end processor. It's just overall more upgradable and more power. They do still go up from there, but we're not doing that. We've got a few higher end minis we've already reviewed, like that Tank 03. Holy cow, that thing's a beast. Plus the that minis for them, the what is it, the what is it, the 680 XTX? Forget the numbers, but it's the XTX. Holy cow, that's probably faster than most of your desktops. That thing is impressive. So just keep in mind that there's a lot of variety out there to meet the needs, the budgets, and the expectations of different people with different values. And I would say, first of all, let me go back to camera one. I definitely have to put Geekom in the category of respectable mini PC manufacturers. Some of these mini PC manufacturers, they're sort of like sticking their toe into marketing in the United States, and they don't have much in the way of support or much in the way of experience in what US customers expect, right? So you're kind of on your own when you buy them. And the reason you buy them is because they're cheaper, but they're also generally not built as well, with some exceptions. Then you have some companies that are just consistently built well and they have good support. So I believe, in my opinion, Geekom is one of those companies. ASUS also makes some mini PCs. Of course, Minis Forum and Ace Magic. These are the ones that you continually see here on the channel. If you see a manufacturer like Minis Forum or Geekom or Ace Magic over and over and over, it's because I have evaluated that they are worth introducing to you. If it's something that you've only seen once, like some manufacturer I've only shown you once and you've never seen them again, there might, I'm not saying there is, there might be a reason for that, right? Because I do a lot of these where I experience them for the first time on camera with you. So I don't know if it's some different company that I've never worked with, if I'm going to like it or not, or if it would be something I would recommend. So I often kind of figured that out on camera. And of course, I won't be mean, but you just may not see that manufacturer anymore. So rest assured, if you see a manufacturer with different products over and over on the channel or throughout, the years, that probably tells you how I feel about that. How I feel about that manufacturer. Like, we've got a lot of Intel NUCs we've showcased here. Intel doesn't make the NUC anymore. They sold the licensing off to ASUS. However, it's non-exclusive, which means Intel left the door open for somebody else to also license the NUC. And ASUS is coming out with their very own NUC design for the very first time. And they're currently selling the pre-existing models that Intel once sold. Only Intel doesn't sell them anymore. The Intel NUCs are now made by and sold by ASUS with their own first design just now coming. So it's pretty interesting stuff. In the meantime, we look forward to seeing more from Geekom. I've got to say, I think it's a really strong little PC for the price. And I think as long as you have realistic expectations, you'll be as impressed as I am. One final look here in the chat. Chris McGraw says that Lexar drive in there, if it was 1 terabyte, would be $90 in Canada on Amazon. So that's, nearly half the price. I don't think that's a 1 terabyte though. That's a 512. Yeah, that's a 512 in there. If I had any more calls from the Microsoft scammers, they stopped calling me for some reason. Matt says his Mega motherboard is on the way. Right on. Well, it looks like we all got some good deals, huh? Glad you guys took advantage of that. Paul Garrett said, I recently heard from a colleague who works at Google that YouTube is taking the nuclear option soon of becoming subscriber only. So, yeah, you know, Sally said that Jenny's wearing a different color sock, pass it on. I wouldn't believe that. My friend works at so-and-so. My friend's cousin's uncle. Please, guys, don't spread this stuff, please. I personally would love it if YouTube became subscriber only. I can imagine that that would help with the scamming, the spamming, and the harassment and bullying and trolling. It would at least, you know, it wouldn't remove it, but it would put a dent in it. The way it is now, as a creator, it sucks. But I don't think YouTube's smart enough to do that, to make it subscriber only. Really wish they would. What YouTube needs to do is they need to say, look, you can watch a certain number of videos for free per day, and you can't comment on them unless you create an account. Now, if you create an account, you're on probation, meaning you can watch, again, a certain number of videos a day that'll be more than somebody who doesn't have an account, but still have a limit. And you can leave so many comments, but you got to have a limit to see if the comments they're leaving are troll comments and harassment or spam. And keep that probation for like, I don't know, 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, then fully release them to leave, you know, watch as many videos as they want. Doesn't necessarily mean you got to charge people anything. But that would do a massive improvement to the harassment and scamming and spamming that is just free for all here on YouTube. And that would be a great way to solve it. But do you think they're going to do that? And by the way, if they do, I would love that. But it's not, they're not charging anybody. So even if you had to be a subscriber, how would you know what to subscribe to if you didn't watch the video first? So that doesn't really make any sense. But requiring a YouTube account, it's still free. And, you know, being able to then verify those accounts so that if somebody does something, we can hold them accountable. You know, if they do something they shouldn't be doing. Again, there's still going to be people that find loopholes and slip through. For the most part, it would make a very big dent in the misbehavior that's going on, bad behavior that's so prevalent here on the platform. But that's why we're so lucky to have this community, right? We've got a great community of people here. Everybody's very supportive and very kind, respectful. And, you know, where else do you see this on YouTube? As far as I can tell, it doesn't exist. Try watching a SpaceX launch. SpaceX, you know, airs their videos live with the chat room open, and it's just like a free-for-all kindergarten. It is ridiculous. It's like somebody got left alone with a computer for the first time without their parents in the room. It's ridiculous. But I am excited they're going to be having an Axiom launch here, SpaceX, where they're launching people up to the space stations. And so those are always more critical, right, when there's human lives on board. So I'll be looking forward to watching that. I think it's tomorrow, Thursday. Speaking of tomorrow, I have another mini PC to review. And this is from a spin-off, a sub-brand of Minis Forum called Codlix. And this thing is very powerful. It's also in the $600 range, but it is fast. So I hope you'll join me tomorrow. I always start my videos when I go live at 1 o'clock Phoenix time. 1 o'clock Phoenix time is 12 p.m. on the West Coast. It's 3 p.m. on the East Coast. So 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and then outside of the US, I don't know. You can Google what time is it in Phoenix. Any of you can do that anywhere in the world, and it'll tell you the current time in Phoenix. And then you can look at your clock on the wall and you can do the math. It's not rocket science to figure out what time the show starts. And then, of course, we've got the MSI Project Zero build on Friday. Good friend Mitch Morrison will join me and help me put together the motherboard and case are designed where all the cables that plug into the front of the motherboard have been moved to the back. So your PC, your power supply, your power switch, your your USB cables, all of that stuff is behind the board instead of on the front of it. That way, when you look at the motherboard through the window on the case, all you see is motherboard. You don't see any cables except maybe your cooler, right? Whatever cables, if you've got an all-in-one or an air cooler, whatever cable powers that or hoses, that's it. That's all there is. Everything else is behind and all hidden. Sounds pretty cool, right? So it's called Project Zero. MSI introduced it last year at CES. And ASUS says they're going to make a motherboard with all the connectors in the back this year, but they're not calling it Project Zero. They're going to have their own name. If this becomes a new standard, that would be great for me. I would love that. And yeah, thank you to Marlena for doing the video notes and setting up, creating today's thumbnail. Thank you to Geekom. Thank you to our friends at Acronis, our friends at Instant House Call, our friends at RoboForum and VIP CDK Deals. And thank you to all of you, both members, subscribers, first-time viewers. And of course, for all the super chat, Amazon gift cards, PayPal contributions, you guys keep me independent. And so I don't have traditional sponsors in that sense where I'm, shoving products down your throat. It's really products I really believe in that I think offer a good value and offer you a discount. If you want to do it, I hope you save money and like the product as much as I do. And if you don't, then don't. It's all good. So that's mostly, the best way I can explain how I can keep my independence and I can give open reviews and, just be honest as a technician what my perspective is on software or hardware or services that we review here. And I just think there's too much advertising disguised as reviews here on YouTube, and it's pretty bad. So it's hard to know which channels you're watching, which are actual reviews, and which ones are sort of, you can almost tell when they're paid. Like if they just seem like they're gushing about the product or they have no criticism of the product at all, it's probably paid and it's disguised and mislabeled as a review. So at least here, I keep it all real. This is why I go live, unscripted and unrehearsed. Everything's filmed in one take. So if I call January, July, that's what happens. It's real. And my reviews are real too. So if you care about that, because I do, you've come to the right place, and I couldn't do it without you. So thank you. I'll see you all tomorrow, 1 o'clock Phoenix time. Until then, bye for now.